What is going on, Dwellers? This is the Fallout Handbook coming at you with our highly anticipated Fallout Cascadia interview. I had the opportunity to interview the creators, and I'm telling you guys, there is some very, very surprising stuff in this interview, especially towards the end. But that being said, on your screen now you'll see the questions that have been asked and at what times. But without further ado, I'm going to jump right into this, so enjoy. Ladies and gentlemen, today we have with us none other than the creators of Fallout Cascadia. Thank you all so much for coming out. Before we get started, if you could all introduce yourselves, tell us your name and your job on the mod, stuff like that, that would be awesome.
Hey guys, my name is Leon, otherwise known as Frog, otherwise known as Dr. Weird in our community server. I am our director of implementation, which entails a lot of things, such as gameplay direction, actual scripting, making tools to make our mod possible, and a lot of the back-end stuff you guys hopefully don't ever have to see. And so next will be our project lead.
Heyo people, my name is Flannan, I'm the project lead as Leon said. I manage pretty much everything really boring in the project. Everything that comes through from how do we set up the team, how do we prioritize what tasks need made, recruitment, contact with other developers, and just if anything ever gets panicky, it always ends up being kind of my job to fix it, or if someone doesn't have time to do this, it's usually my place to step in and step it up and whatnot. But yeah, I just do a lot of the back-end stuff similar to Leon. A lot of you have probably seen me on streams before, tend to hang around there a lot. But that's pretty much me. Next up, we'll take our asset guy, Saber.
Hello, I am Sabretooth. I am our lead assets director here at Fallout Cascadia. I manage our asset team, create 3D assets, implement assets into the game. Any outsourcing of assets that we get, I also manage. So yeah, that's what I do.
I guess I'm up last. I'm Anna. I am one of the two writing leads here at Fallout Cascadia. The other is Roberto Guedes. And my job is I sort of help negotiate with the writing team. We look at narrative design and quest design. We plan out main quest as well as side quests. But we also have some of the more boring aspects of writing, such as creating documentation for all of the quests and characters. So we essentially have our own little internal wiki that we use, and we sort of live on there and come up with dialogue, characters, all that fun stuff.
Great. Awesome. Thank you guys so much. It's great to have you here. And it's great to finally meet you all. It's been a while we've been in talks about this, but it's great to finally meet you guys. Before we get started, though, I just want to say that I'm aware some of these questions have been answered in the past. I'm going to be asking some of the same ones, just for the sake of having all the information in one place. So with that being said, let's jump right into the first question. Just very broad, very open question for any of you, and that is, what exactly is Fallout Cascadia?
Fallout Cascadia is, on the technical side, it's a total conversion mod in development for Fallout 4's creation engine. It takes what we saw that people liked in Fallout 4, and we also take the criticisms aimed at Fallout 4 and try to create something new and same but different, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I think Cascadia is sort of the natural progression of the Fallout lore, which was originally very West Coast centric, into a new sort of like pocket of Americana. Because various installments in the franchise have seen the elements of where they are specifically located integrate into the gameplay and the story. So for me, Fallout Cascadia is just the Pacific Northwest sort of incarnate within the Fallout world space.
All right, well, that was a great answer. Thank you so much. So we saw with Fallout 76 that even the most innocent of places can be transformed into a wasteland. When I think of a nuclear apocalypse, Seattle isn't exactly the first place I think of. So that being said, what made you choose Washington for the setting of this mod?
I think, okay, so neither of us actually made that decision in the start. That was our former project lead, Alex. And for her, I think it was a lot. It felt like Fallout, but it was close enough to home that it was interesting. I think she's from just above the border in Canada somewhere. And I think that kind of became the spurring point. Like, everyone wants to have Fallout in their own state or their own home, or everyone spins up these ideas. And I think Seattle came close enough. But it also offered a lot of just perfect themed locations. We have the Space Needle. We had a lot of backstories. We had a lot of Fallout feeling lore to the city itself. So I think for her, it became one of those. It made sense, and it was a cool location. Just all in all.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, I think it's amazing that you guys managed to turn, like a seemingly unsuspecting area into sort of like a mutated dystopian wasteland. That's just so cool to me. And since we're on the topic of the setting, one of the staples of Seattle is the Space Needle, as you mentioned. It's the giant pointy tower everyone thinks of, just by naming the city. It's where our minds go. So will we be able to go inside the Space Needle? Will it have any significance at all?
You'll be able to go into the Space Needle, yeah. It's not only there for show either, without saying too much.
All right, no problem. Yeah, I'll respect that. No worries. But after playing Fallout 76, the sheer size of the game itself was pretty overwhelming. There's just so much to do. There's a lot to see. And that kind of brings me to my next question. How big is the map of Fallout Cascadia relative to other games or DLCs?
Twice the size of Fallout 4.
Wow. Are you serious?
Not more. I'm serious,
Oh
yeah.
my goodness. Okay, so it's not just
And
Seattle.
we also have to keep in mind a lot of our playable areas. They're not just dead space. There of course is some dead space between towns, but far less so than in Fallout 4. Like if you were going from Concord and you were trying to go east to that, what's that one town called? The one with where they basically kidnap synths. Either way, there's far less dead space, and there's more. You feel like when you walk somewhere, there's something interesting to see.
Yeah, for sure.
Rather than feeling like there's not a whole lot going on.
Yeah, I think we got a lot of that dead, empty space with Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas. I was never a fan of it. I always comment that they do a great job. Or rather, they did a great job with that in Fallout 4. They've done an excellent job with that, I think, in Fallout 76 as well. But yeah, no, I appreciate that. I really like that.
No, I just posted a picture in the chat here. They can smack up on the video later.
Sure.
Which shows just Fallout 4's map overlaid on a black canvas representing our map.
Oh. Wow.
But on what Leon said as well, our map does have a lot less water as far as the play map.
Sure. So does that mean we can go to the coast, or it's not as significant, or?
You can go to the coast. You can swim out a little while in it, but we didn't keep 1/3 of the map dedicated to water.
Yeah.
You'll be able to go to the coast, have fun, but there's really not much we can do with a vast body of water.
No, that's understandable.
So we didn't feel the need to make it super expandable. They can keep swimming for an hour.
Sure. No, I appreciate that. Yeah, I think that it's kind of lazy almost to have just a ton of the map taken up by water, especially if there isn't a lot going on in it. If it's not too significant. But we're going to move on from this question here. As you mentioned, this is a total conversion mod. It's completely separate from the story of Fallout 4. It has its own story, its own characters. It's a completely unique addition to the Fallout universe. So can you tell us a little bit about the protagonist or the story? What's this mod about exactly?
So with this mod, the story is completely separate from any of the previous installments. So you are creating a new character. This character, of course, if it's a continuation of, your courier, your own personal canon, that's fine. We worked really hard with trying to make sure that what we have established actually fits perfectly within what we call the player's canon. So if you say the NCR won the Battle of the Hoover Dam, great, we'll work with that. Our universe works with that. So it's kind of all approachable. But the protagonist, we recently revealed the title is The Drifter. You start in the city of Kent, which is southeast of Seattle proper. And you start there. It's an NCR-owned sort of town. It's their further northernmost encampment. They kept continuing north and eventually ran into the Republic of Cascadia, which is centered around Cascade, which I'm sure Flen will tell us about in a little bit, which is their capital city. It's what sort of used to be Seattle. And you as the drifter are in Kent, and you're pointed toward Cascade, and there's a lot of adventures that happen. I really can't. There's so much I can't say that I really want to tell you all.
No, that's fine. No problem.
Yeah.
I think the big thematic is trying to do somewhat similar to New Vegas, where we're taking a look at what does a post-apocalyptic society look like, where people aren't just scrambling for the bare necessities to survive, and where civilization kind of starting to move forward, because we've always felt that Bethesda's kind of having a hard time letting go of the imminent doom that's always looming over us, kind of. Like in Fallout 3, it was, oh no, here came the big mean enclave, screwed up our water, or in Fallout 4, the boogeyman of the Commonwealth was kidnapping people, and nothing was really getting anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And we're kind of looking past that, and like, the people in the Republic, they have everything sorted out. Like, they have their water supply, their food, their general security and the like. And we're trying to look at the meaning of Fallout with whenever changes, that humanity, even though it's managed to get to a point where it stands strong on its own, it's going to find a way to bring that all down on its own, and that's what we're trying to explore and really dig into.
Yeah, we're getting much more into potential areas of conflict that haven't necessarily been present in previous Fallouts, in that it's not just, the Enclave has our water, but we're looking at one of the major factions is actually a Canadian resistance faction. Within the Fallout canon, there is evidence of Canadian resistance factions because America annexed Canada. Mm-hmm. And so we have a Canadian resistance faction, which is also great because of Seattle's proximity to the Canadian border. And we're starting to look at more ideological differences, issues of governance, those sorts of larger issues that people don't really get to if they're still worried about, well, when am I going to get my next meal? And since the Republic is so established, it really allows us to sort of have a greater ability to sort of play around with those larger, less tangible aspects of conflict. And that's been really fun to do in a post-apocalyptic setting. But it's also greatly challenging, both for us and the characters that we've made.
Yeah, absolutely. I was actually, it's crazy that you said all of that, because my next question ties perfectly in with all of that. But before
segue.
Yeah, no, right, yeah. But before we get to that, I wanted to touch on what Flen said. Yeah, I was actually gonna say, based off what Flen said, I was always, whenever I think of like a new Fallout game or something like that, I'm always like, I want to see progress. I want to see, something good, essentially. Because we are always seeing that sort of doom and gloom, people suffering, people dying, stuff like that. I want to see society advancing a little bit. I don't want to have to see, dirty water everywhere, stuff like that. But no, that's awesome. And then, yeah, as Anna was saying, the Canadian influence on this mod, I was actually going to ask as my next question, because we are so close to the border, are we going to see Canadian influence in this mod? And if you'd like to expand on what you've already said, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, let me tell you, the Canadians are back and they are angry.
Ooh. Oh man.
So I think the period of Canadian annexation that canonically happens in Fallout is actually a pretty long period of time. It's like 10 years or so. Mm-hmm. I want to say it ends officially in 2076, which is rather unfortunate based on what happens in 2077 with the Great War. Right. But it's sort of there's like a period of unofficial annexation and then a period of official annexation that happens within Canada. So the Canadians were originally very, very much still clinging to their national identity, because they're like, hey, you all have no right to do this. What's going on? We're still Canadians. And for a while, they weren't really able to have that voice, just because, as we mentioned before, they're still trying to just survive. Mm-hmm. So now that they, and the Pacific Wasteland, we call it, now that the Pacific Wasteland is more established, they're able to now be like, okay, so this is our land, this is our area. And the Republic, they aren't really happy with the Republic of Cascadia. Now, I think it's a really important distinction to make, that they don't actually want to destroy the Republic. They just want the Republic to run better. And they think that they just could happen to do that if their people were in charge. So they don't want to destroy it as much as they want to sort of like take over and actually help it be better. They still see it as unfair. And even though the Republic of Cascadia is very much a democratically run society, they still see it as having issues like the NCR, that it's corrupt, that people are doing all sorts of power plays that don't actually cling to the democratic ideals that they claim to have, essentially.
Sure. That was a lot more in depth of an answer than I expected. That is awesome. Oh no, you're good. You're good. That's amazing. Sweet. I still have a lot of questions for you guys. But if you guys don't mind, I actually have some fan submissions here that I'd like to ask. They come from my Instagram and my YouTube pages. They're pretty specific questions. They're kind of easy to answer, so nothing too crazy. So coming from Instagram first, user Miguelito285 asks a couple questions. We've answered a few already. So from his post, he asks, will we see new animals in this mod, and will there be snow?
Oh boy.
So no, let's start with the snow one, because that's a debate we've had for a while, going back and forth. And I think we settled a while back that we were thinking about it, but as the map has progressed and development has gone forth, it's getting kind of hard to fit in that biome.
Sure.
And because the original plan was in, I think, the northeastern corner of the map, there would be a section of the area covered with snow and just generally colder.
Yeah.
The problem came with that we didn't end up having anything really big happening in that section. Like, it was kind of supposed to be just like the glowing sea, I think it's called in Fallout 4.
Yeah.
We're just this end of the map. And you need a lot of assets if you're going to do snow-covered places, we realized. Like, every tree, you needed so many shaders and so many ground textures, so it's a possibility we'll have snow, but I wouldn't count on it, so to say.
Alright, awesome. And do you guys know about the animals at all? If you're allowed to disclose that, if there's going to be, like, new animals?
There's new animals.
Okay.
I guess, yeah, there is. I don't think we want to touch up too much. We've revealed some concept art, and you've seen the Wanamingo walking around in the forest on Twitter a while ago.
Ooh.
Other than that, we got nothing else to announce right now, but there is new animals and creatures and whatnot.
One that has been announced is the fox. So.
Yep, and
True,
we also talked about the Orclaw. We've shown a few pictures of that on our Instagram. The Orclaw also made an appearance.
Okay.
So the Orclaw is pretty much a mutated orca, killer whale, so on the level of the Deathclaw, right there.
The fox we recently announced is sort of the Cascadian version of dog meat. And we actually did a Twitter poll where we had our top 4 choices from the writing crew, and internally we sort of had the writing crew, and then we brought it to the entire team, and then we had our top 4 and we posted them. I believe the top contenders were Kit, Scout, Foxtrot, and Elvis. And the winner was Foxtrot. So hopefully this little fox guy is going to be tied to a couple quests with the NCR. So you will get the fox via the NCR. But yeah, we got a fun little animal companion for you.
That's awesome.
And there will be more foxes than just Foxtrot too. We're also going to integrate those into the regular creatures as well, but they will be different from Foxtrot. They'll be more on the feral variety.
Ooh, okay. I'm excited for that. And I'm gonna put in a picture of that whale. That's actually super creepy, but I like it.
There's some better images of the whale too. We've posted a few on our Discord.
I'm
some
getting
better
a better
renders of
picture
that.
for you.
Yep.
That particular picture, it looks like it's taking a selfie.
Yeah.
I think that's the intention, isn't it?
Yeah, I was trying really hard to get it to do that pose.
Oh.
Selfie!
It's when it picks you up and tries to bite your head off.
Oh.
So-
Oh, lovely.
Oh, okay.
Something a little bit about the Orclaw, something that sets it apart from the Deathclaws and how they've been able to survive against the Deathclaws, because they do not get along with Deathclaws. They are a far different species, although they act very similar. they actually are very smart and they'll hunt in packs, typically of 3 or so. So these guys are they inhabit the coastal areas and stuff, and they are going to be hunting in packs.
Oh man, so I know exactly what I should be avoiding now because that is just creepy. I don't like that they can pick you up too. That's just, oh man. And they travel in packs. Are you even gonna be able to beat these things? Man. Well, I'm gonna move on to our next question here. We've got an Instagram user by the name of a good boy 65. He asks a very important question, and it is something that I think we know the answer to. I believe it's a question that you've also answered in the past. But he's asking if we can expect to see Cascadia on console.
No. Simply, sadly, no.
No, I know that you guys have released, I think, like a couple little packs on console, maybe Xbox. Is that right?
Yep.
Do you know what other sort of little things like weapons or skins or something that we can see on console in the future?
There's probably going to be like a little compendium here and there, and we'll release several little weapons and whatnot. Problem is, if you're going to prep something for a specific console release, you're setting aside 2 weeks of time to prep that, make sure it works, and format everything for the Xbox. And where we are right now with the movement we're doing with the development, it's not something we can prioritize simply.
Yeah. Any of those things that we would happen to release might actually have to come after our main release due to the time restraints that we're under to do those things.
Sure, yeah, no, I understand the file size is like huge, and there's the whole Fallout 4 script extender and all those issues, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it's all right, no problem. I think most people expected that we wouldn't be able to see the full mod on console. But we're gonna move on from that question. I've got Ian Shutt asking a fairly straightforward question, and that is, will the dialogue in this mod be fully voiced?
By the player, no. All other dialogue, yes, fully voiced.
Oh, really? So, okay, well, that ties in perfectly with the next question then. I saw on your website you have an application to join the team, and so RJG Films asks if you are in need of voice actors. And I'm actually going to expand that question just in general, like, what are you looking for? You know, what kind of skill sets are you looking for?
As of right this very moment, we're not looking for any more voice actors, mostly because we're waiting to move forward with a lot of the casting and whatnot. But when we are looking, it's usually quite a high standard because we've all played a lot of mods and we all know how easily a bad casting can break it.
Yeah.
And we're also trying to establish quite a consistent flow of what's the software used, what's the hardware that people record through, and also trying to get a lot of experienced or semi-experienced actors to do the voice acting. So I think it's a bit of a misconception in the community in general that voice acting is talking. And I'd say it's acting, but a bit harder because you have to convey so much more with so much less.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But in general, we do keep our noses out on Casting Call Club. Great platform to find and make use of voice actors. So for people interested, they can go there and just take a look at what we've had in the past and probably get an idea of the standard we try to apply to the voice acting casting and follow us there to be updated on any casting we do in the future.
Maybe we can provide a link for that.
Yeah, we'll get a link for that.
Great, yeah, and I can leave that in the description as well. Great, thank you so much. Yeah, I know a lot of people are interested in becoming parts of these huge mods. And I mean, it's really interesting. You know, you're kind of immortalized in the game if you do get kind of like a voice acting part. And for those of you watching, if you do want to apply to the Cascadia team, I'm gonna leave a description, or rather a link in the description down below. Feel free to click that. You know, they might be able to use you. You might be able to get this project out to the public earlier. So that's pretty cool. YouTube user Jackson asks a bit of a lengthy question, and that is, will Cascadia show evidence of the close proximity to the pre-war Alaskan front against China, such as abundant military equipment, strong anti-war symbolism, anti-communist propaganda, stuff like that?
I know it was something we discussed back in the days, but I think we came to that idea of, like, we basically came to the conclusion of that if the Alaskan front falls, the US knows they've fallen, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
Like, at that point, they're ready to press the button on blowing up the world.
Sure.
So I think there was kind of reasoning as to why Seattle wasn't a massive stockpile. Because if they lose the Alaskan front, they've already lost, kind of. They've lost all resources, and at that point, it's nuke time.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. No, that's actually, that's crazy how well thought out this stuff is, man. I probably wouldn't have thought of that at all, to be entirely honest. But great answer, great answer. Our last question from the community is a very important one. We not only hear it regarding mods of this caliber, but also for all official Fallout games. So, Mohammed Hejmaf asks if there will be factions in this mod, and if so, how many?
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Yes, there are factions, and there are a lot of factions.
Yeah.
I don't know
Well-
if I could even give hard numbers at this point.
Really? Wow.
I mean, we have the three main factions: ROC, Red Leafs, and NCR.
Mhm.
mhm.
But there's also a lot of just smaller ones.
Yeah, there are a lot of smaller communities and little smaller groups that you are able to befriend, and you can sort of join. Some of them you can actually be formally like initiated, essentially. But there are a lot of just smaller groups, and like we have some gangs. We got our own mafia, y'all, and we have just a lot of smaller groups that you can be associated with. But they're sort of the three major ones right now. Can't confirm any of the smaller ones because they're still sort of in development, but there are lots of factions. Things are going to get very complicated.
Mhm.
It's going to be a good time.
Awesome.
Just doing a finger count, I think it's safe to say at least 10 smaller factions you'll be
Wow.
able to stumble across.
Mhm. Yeah, that
Without
sounds
a
about
problem.
right.
Yeah.
I think people got a bit of a taste for having a lot of factions from New Vegas. People really liked that, especially the smaller ones, the cons, the boomers, stuff like that. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. I think the community is as well. But that concludes our user-submitted questions. They were all fantastic. Thank you guys for sending them in. But I want to move on sort of to the official teaser trailer that you guys released earlier this year. It was beautiful. It was exciting. There was one thing that really stuck out, and I believe Anna hit on it. That was the NCR. Can you tell us a little bit about what they might be doing there? And if you can't say that, then why did you decide to bring them back specifically?
Sure. Well, I mean, the NCR is sort of omnipresent, quite honestly, in terms of the Fallout canon. But in terms of what they're doing in the area, they essentially we're just moving north, right? They're land grabbers. That's sort of what people poke fun at them for. Keep going north. You're going to go up through, of course, Northern California, Oregon, and then you're going to hit Washington. And surely, you know, larger cities along the way, they would be like, oh yeah, I want to grab this. That's mine now.
Yeah.
And that's mine. But they kind of came to a problem when they hit the Puget Sound, which is the sort of water area around Seattle, in that Seattle was already very well established to a point where they're quite honestly rivaled. The Republic of Cascadia is very well organized. They have a strong military. They essentially are in a standoff. They're in a standoff, in a stalemate. The NCR is over in Kent. So they're sort of watching across the Puget Sound, and the ROC is watching them. And they know that if the other one steps one toe out of line, it's just going to be all out war, because the NCR is going to move in on Cascade and take it, or the Republic of Cascadia is going to try to destroy Kent. They know that they're a little bit mismatched and that the NCR could always send reinforcements. So they have to be really, really careful about how they interact with this other group. But with the Canadian resistance group, the Red Leafs, with their influence, they're also trying to take over the Republic of Cascadia. The NCR is essentially like, okay, we don't want to get in the middle of that. So we're going to stay over here. I'm drawing a line. You guys stay over there. We're just going to watch you. So it's a very tense environment. Everyone's waiting to see if the other person is going to slip up. And the moment they do, it's going to be all out war.
Wow, that sounds like an amazing story. That also sounds like the decisions that the protagonist makes might have a pretty big influence, which is something that everybody's just been waiting for. You know, that's something that everyone's wanted to see. And also in the trailer, I wanted to hit on, we saw the giant wall. You know, it almost reminded me of talks today with building a wall. It was kind of funny, but I was actually kind of curious as to what that was and if you'd be able to disclose kind of who owns it, or rather who built it. You know.
That's Cascade.
Okay, so it's like it does
That's
look.
the standard wall all around the city, pretty much. Yeah,
Wow, so they must be pretty well established then. Awesome.
they are. If you take a look in our group chat here, I send you a picture to. That's how the wall looks from the inside, and that's the inviting side of it.
Oh, okay. Wow. Geez, no, that I mean that looks impressive. That looks pretty. Man, I'm definitely excited to see where this goes. I really want to see sort of how the NCR plays a role, just because they're the faction that we've seen in the past. But I'm also really excited for the, what is it, the Red Leafs? Is that what it was? The faction?
Yep.
Yes.
Ooh, I'm excited for that, because I mean that sounds like
Those
it's
are-
a big faction and they're new as well. So I want to see how you guys played that out. Did you want to add to it?
Oh, I was just saying, those are the angry Canadians.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
They're a big force. We have our main quest has 3 quest lines, and they have one of them.
Ooh.
So the decisions of the Drifter will determine which of our 3 quest lines you will take. It's the main quest starts the same, and then it splinters. So you will have lots of content. It was actually sort of designed with replay value in mind.
Mhm.
If you side with the Republic, if you side with the Red Leafs, or vice versa, or whoever, then you're actually going to have a completely different gameplay experience.
Wow. Yeah, awesome. And like I said, I think that's what everybody's sort of been waiting for, and that kind of wasn't satisfied with these last 2 games that Bethesda's put out. And actually, speaking of Bethesda, I read up that you guys are going to be changing some of the mechanics to account for some of Bethesda's shortcomings that they had both with Fallout 4 and Fallout 76. So I wanted to know what kind of additional mechanics you'll have in Cascadia, as well as what you'd be taking out.
Oh boy, this is where to even begin? The thing is that there's a lot of good things about Fallout 4 that people don't really think about, or maybe they go a little bit unnoticed in
Mhm.
comparison from the transition of Fallout 3 and New Vegas into 4.
Mhm.
I mean, you have all these new shooting mechanics. Like, the shooting is really tightly tuned. It feels really great to
Yeah.
use this 10 millimeter pistol. So, you rely a lot. They've relied a lot less on the RPG mechanics, which is very unfortunate.
Mhm.
So we're bringing back tons of things. Like, we're bringing back traits, so you can customize the way you sort of play the game.
Sure.
There are a few details about traits that we haven't exactly hit upon yet,
Mhm.
as to whether or not old traits will return, or if we'll do something a little bit crazier. This is something I would like a little bit of community feedback on personally, because I'm not really sure. Would players like to see more traits that change the play style of the game more, or like how they play? So let's say that you have this trait that makes it so you can only use melee weapons, or makes it so that your damage with guns is really low,
Mhm.
but your attack power with melee weapons is quite substantially higher. So that gives you more incentive to, you like, if you're a melee weapon player, you just you go for that trait. But these are sort of things with traits that we're still debating on. Um, Skills are obviously making a comeback.
Ooh.
I can't really talk too much about it. There's a few debates that need to happen in regards to skills, but they are coming back in some shape or form.
Sure.
So that'll help add a lot of variety into the way you level up and build your character as you play the game. So we're bringing back a lot more role-playing elements from Fallout 3, New Vegas, well, all the older Fallout games, right? Where you have your skills, you have your traits, you have your perks. Um, we're going to be making it so that you have a lot more options. In that image there that Flannery posted, you can see that we also use XDI, which is Registrator 2K's dialogue system,
And Yanka.
and Nyanka, right, who did the actual UI design itself. So we can have more than 4 dialogue options or less than 4. And we're going to be using this quite a bit, like a lot.
A lot.
I think it's in every dialogue.
Every dialogue.
Wow.
Quite honestly, every dialogue has options. And like, while I can see the appeal of going for a standard like dialogue wheel, as they did in 4, bringing back the skills and the perks really just means you almost have to have those abilities, because otherwise, it is an RPG. And anyone who's ever played, especially like a standard like tabletop, knows that things can get a little bit wild when someone's like, I'm going to try to get past this person by seducing them.
Yeah.
And we have those options. We've had a lot of fun, and the writing team especially, coming up with the various ways that you can complete objectives. Sometimes you can entirely skip objectives just by using skills or perk checks. And sometimes even if, it's a failure, because we will have both pass and fail lines for every attempt. Even if it's a failure, sometimes you still get something out of it, even if it's just a laugh. But it's a lot of fun. I can't wait to see how people decide to make their drifter go through our various trials.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I think everybody has really, really been looking forward to that. I'm not sure if you guys saw the new Outer Worlds game announced by Obsidian, but they actually have a similar dialogue system, which, of course, we saw in Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas, and people love it. People really love it. And the fact that there's more than just the 4 options that we saw in Fallout 4, I think it's going to be a big hit with the people. But real quick, Leon mentioned that you guys wanted sort of more community feedback. Where would be the best place for people to give feedback?
The best place would be on our Discord, probably in ideas and suggestions. Things might not always get a reply to them, but they always get read by one of the people on our team, most specifically me. I always take a look into feedback, even if I don't give a reply, like I said, and I always try to take that into account whenever making any decision regarding gameplay or mechanics.
Sure. All right, awesome. Well, yeah, I'll leave a link in the description down below to their Discord. If you guys want to join, that'd be awesome. Leave them some feedback. Let them know some stuff that you want to see in the mod. And speaking of the community, there's one thing that is always being asked about. It's always anticipated. People want to know about it, and that is unique armors and weapons. So can we expect to see a lot of effort put into this area?
Yeah, so for the weapons and armors, we're going to have a lot of different old weapons returning. We're going to have a lot of new ones. The armors, we're going to cover all the different factions. They're going to have unique armors, unique weapons that they use and stuff. So, yeah, there'll be plenty of those. But however, now we're focused mainly on the level design assets and the environment pieces. Weapons and armors are kind of put on the back burner for now, but we will definitely cover them very soon, and they will be good to go.
So you mentioned that you're going to be bringing back some weapons from the vanilla game. So I wanted to ask if you're going to be bringing environmental structures from the vanilla game, or are you going to hand make them, stuff like trees and cars and bridges and all the background stuff?
We'll be reusing most of it. There's very little that we can't reuse. So similar to Fallout New Vegas, where I think about 90% of the assets are from Fallout 3. We just have to add that extra sprinkle of 10 to really make it shine. Like, I could probably say if we take 10 of our assets and only keep those 10, we keep our 6 trees and our 3 ground textures, most of the world will look the same pretty much.
Okay.
Like, there's not super much we have to add, because it just comes together really fast on what you can do with it.
Yeah, no, that's
and
awesome.
Especially thanks to how Bethesda designed their kits to be extremely modular. Like, they've really gone overboard a lot of times.
Well, that's awesome. Yeah, I'm sure it requires a lot less time as well, just being able to use structures that are already made for you. time that can be spent in other areas, which is which is awesome. It's always good to save time and be able to get the mod out as soon as possible. But the interview is coming to an end. We have a few more questions here. I wanted to ask you something a little more serious, something that I asked the Miami team about. We've seen big projects like this get shut down in the past. So are there any concerns about that? Have you been contacted by Bethesda at all? What are your thoughts?
We don't see it as any sort of concern that will be shut down. From Bethesda's side, that is. There, of course, is always the possibility that we decide to call it quits because of whatever happened. Someone leaves, too many people leave. But our communications with Bethesda back and forth has been fantastic, really. They've always been up for answering our questions. And as far as like any sort of legal drama that could be, I know a lot of people are still having Capital Wasteland in their head, and there's nothing that we could fall on, so to say. We're straight out in the clay. We're doing all our content from scratch. We're not infringing on any copyrights. We're doing things as by the book as we can. So I don't think that's a concern of any of our minds.
Awesome. Well, that's fantastic news. I'm really happy to hear that. But yeah, I myself couldn't see any sort of reason for them to kind of shut you down. And I'm really happy. I'm really happy because I'm very excited for this mod. It's definitely high up there on the list. So unfortunately, our time here is coming to an end. I'm going to top off the interview with one more question. It's the question that's on everybody's mind. It's the question that is very anticipated and probably the most asked. I know you might not have a direct answer for it, but kind of just give me whatever you can. And that is, when can we expect to play Fallout Cascadia?
Soon.
Soon.
I think,
Not super soon, but soon.
Sooner than you think.
yeah, I think what I said when I was with GameStop was like a lot of people expect there to be the average 8-year wait because that's what people are used to within the Fallout community for these big, massive projects. And we don't plan on being here for that long.
Wow. I expected something kind of a little more closer to 8 years. So that's awesome. That's super exciting. Hopefully it comes out before Fallout 5 because you wouldn't want to get tangled up in that hype. But no, that's amazing. That's great to hear. But yeah, that concludes the interview. Did you guys want to add anything else?
Actually, I did want to add one more thing. When it comes to community feedback towards gameplay, I'm actually more particularly interested in what people liked from 76, because I know that it's pretty obvious to tell the mood of 76 is people don't like it for whatever reason, but in my opinion, I feel like there are things in 76 that were done particularly well, and some of these things you don't even think about. Like, there's no different difficulty setting, so it's just one flat difficulty. Survival mode is already on. The crafting and whatnot. Like, give me some feedback as to what you like and dislike in regards to that. That's really all there is to it. I mean, we can't really make the greatest game that we can without any of this feedback and me or us playing guessing games, really. Because we do aim to please, or we're trying to at the very least. So this is one of those things that at the end of the day, I don't want to include something that would be more negative towards the community than positive. But yeah, we just want feedback. What you liked from Fallout 76 in terms of actual gameplay, because as you know, there's no RPG. Well, sorry, there is with the perk system, but I mean, you don't have things like characters you talk to and whatnot. You don't have those significant story-driven choices. You just have like raw gameplay, and out of all that, I just want to know what the community's feedback is on a lot of that, because me personally, I love a lot of the crafting, but and a lot of the crafting that we'll have in the game will be similar to that. There will be a lot of differences, but it will be quite similar. But yeah, just feedback in general, with what you guys think of 76, what you think it could have done better in specific areas.
Sure.
And really, that's all there is to it, I guess.
All right. Awesome. Did anyone else want to add anything?
I will just do a shameless plug for the Writers Podcast.
Sure.
The writing crew and I, we have been planning a podcast for quite some time. It's going to be a 4-part podcast. We have already released the first episode. The second one's in the works. We've posted, it's on SoundCloud. We've posted the link on our Twitter and in our community Discord. We're talking more about the story, more about the Drifter, about the major characters. That's the next episode. We're talking about the 6 major characters that you meet regardless of which quest line you choose. We call them the Big 6. So we're revealing the Big 6 and sort of talking about them, who they are. So lots of good, juicy, like story teaser content in the Writers Podcast. So you all should definitely listen to that if you all are interested.
Awesome. Yeah, and you guys will find the link for that podcast down below in the description, so make sure you check that out. All relevant links are going to be down in the description. Thank you guys so much for coming out. This was super fun. Definitely awesome to hear more about this mod, and I think the community is very excited. So again, thank you so much for coming out. And yeah, if you want to say goodbye to the viewers, that'd be great.
Bye, people.
Bye.
Goodbye, viewers.
Yeah.
There you
Goodbye,
go.
viewers.
Awesome.
Goodbye.
Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe. And as always, Dwellers, keep wandering.